This is Plant-Based Briefing, 7 tips from a plant-based nutrition coach by Victoria Moran at Main Street Vegan Academy at mainstreetvegan.com. And I'm Marian Erickson, and this is the curated content plant-based podcast where I narrate articles on various topics related to the myriad of reasons to live a plant-based and vegan lifestyle, with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And Main Street Vegan Academy is one of the organizations that's recently given me permission to share their content. They are the premier training and certification program for vegan coaches. Their mission is to encourage the adoption and maintenance of a positive vegan lifestyle and a health-promoting diet geared to the needs and preferences of the individual for the purpose of creating a just world for all beings and protecting the planet. Founder Victoria Moran went vegan in 1983, overcame a binge eating disorder. In 1985, wrote Compassion, the Ultimate Ethic, which was the first book about vegan philosophy and practice to come from an actual publisher, raised a vegan daughter, wrote 12 additional books and has another on the way, and has appeared twice on Oprah. She's the author of this article, so now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. 7 tips from a plant-based nutrition coach by Victoria Moran at mainstreetvegan.com. There's so much confusion out there about nutrition. Unlike any other science in which the science itself draws fact from opinion, you can find every kind of quote-unquote fact about nutrition backed by studies which may or may not have been without bias in terms of who funded the study. Amid the morass of misinformation, these 7 recommendations rise above the fray as the gold standard for healthy eating. Number 1, eat plants. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. If that sounds boring, don't worry. These simple foods combine to make dazzling dishes, including those that are meaty, cheesy, and otherwise reminiscent of the foods you think you'll miss. Some experts will say, eat mostly plants. I recommend eat only plants. A plant-exclusive diet fortified with vitamin B12 has the most evidence behind it for helping humans live disease-free. See the best-selling book, How Not to Die, linked here, by Michael Greger, MD. Number 2, most of the time eat plants that haven't been through a plant. Sometimes processed, packaged, convenience foods are a time-saving godsend. When you purchase them, read the labels to be sure they're free from any animal products, GMO ingredients like cottonseed oil and non-organic soy or corn, high-fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, or palm oil. But most of the time, choose foods that don't even have a label because you picked them from the produce section or the bulk bins. Number 3, generally speaking, think in terms of whole foods, not isolated nutrients. The magic of nutrition, the way foods from the earth become our physical structure, happens as a result of chemical interplays only partially understood by science. Eat a variety of colors, green, yellow, orange, purple, and when it comes to produce, even white is a color, think cauliflower, and a variety of plant food overall. Check out the best-selling book Whole, Rethinking the Science of Nutrition by T. Colin Campbell, Ph.D., linked here. Number 4, cook gently. In yoga, it's said that the highest quality foods have a sattvic, balancing or purifying, quality, but that these same foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, etc., can be rendered tamasic, dulling, or depressing by improper preparation. Avoid this by eating raw what can be eaten raw and what you can easily digest in this state, and by lightly steaming vegetables or sautéing in a small amount of avocado or olive oil if you use oil, and always at medium or lower heat. For some amazing recipes using great cooking techniques, find the Main Street Vegan Academy Cookbook by J.L. Fields, Victoria Moran, and Main Street Vegan Academy coaches linked here. Number 5, supplement judiciously. The key to a great life or great health is not in a plethora of brown bottles. There are a few nutrients, however, which one would do well to supplement. Vitamin B12 is essential if you're a vegetarian, or if you're over the age of 50, regardless of your diet. Vitamin D3, it's actually a hormone, not a vitamin, is something that a great many people lack because we're simply not out in direct sunlight enough for the action of sunlight on our skin to make it. Unless your levels are optimal, a simple blood test can tell you, supplementing 1,000 IU daily makes sense. You may also want to consider supplementing the fully formed omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and DPA, from an algae-based source. Other nutrients to consider include iodine, unless you regularly consume either iodized salt or seaweed, vitamin K2, unless you regularly eat the Japanese soy food natto, and zinc. Pumpkin seeds are the best plant source, but you'd need to eat quite a few of them to get the RDA. I recommend Complement Essential to my clients, all vegan and very high quality. If you'd like to check it out, go to lovecomplement.com and use the discount code MAINSTREET to save 10%. Number 6, cook and eat in a good frame of mind. Years ago, I had a friend of the Sikh faith who told me that in her tradition, food preparation is so sacred that one is asked to pause before entering the kitchen to be sure they're in a positive mental state before working with food. The belief is that mental attitude can be passed from the cook to the food, and we know from solid science that when food is consumed in a state of fear or anger or upset of any kind, digestion is impaired. Cultivate uplifting conversation at the table, or if you're dining alone, do so in the company of sunny thoughts, a lovely table setting, and good music or an inspiring audiobook. My classic Main Street Vegan is now available in audio, linked here. Number 7, practice the other habits of healthy living. Diet isn't everything. To live vibrantly calls for regular exercise, good sleep, excellent hydration, and some practice, meditation for instance, to help combat the stresses of life. The book, Undo It, How Simple Lifestyle Changes Can Reverse Most Chronic Diseases, linked here, by Dean Ornish, MD, and Ann Ornish, is an excellent guide to covering all the bases. And it's all connected. When you're eating well, you tend to sleep better. When you're exercising, you're more drawn to health-promoting foods. You just listened to 7 Tips from a Plant-Based Nutrition Coach by Victoria Moran at MainStreetVegan.com. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson, and she's made some amazing book recommendations in this post as well. As always, I put a link to the original post in the show notes so you can find those books there. And I found number 6 interesting, about being in a good frame of mind and the belief that mental attitude can be passed from the cook to the food. And just imagine, you've probably heard stories about how stressful restaurant kitchens can be for the chefs and the cooking staff. So there can be a lot of stress going into the preparation of foods when you eat out. And Brigitte Gem of Vegan Family Kitchen often talks about this in her book, Flow in the Kitchen, in her blog posts, on her podcast, veganfamilykitchen.com. But I do think that's an important aspect. She talks about how to learn to enjoy cooking and why we're taught as a society not to value cooking. But when we do learn to value it, to enjoy it, to appreciate it, there's nothing more important than preparing nutritious food for ourselves, for our loved ones, because when our entire bodies, our cells are renewed every 7 years or whatever it is, we really are what we eat. So please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.